I drove up to the lake house for Thanksgiving. The bottle of vintage wine heavy in my hand. I walked in just as my mother, Sharon, was organizing the family photo. "Kyle, you stand right next to Jenna," she beamed, her voice bright. I smiled, waiting, shifting the bottle in my grip. I thought she'd call me in next, tell me where to stand. Instead, she just raised her phone. "Okay, everyone. Smile." The flash went off, and I was still standing in the doorway, outside the frame, holding a gift no one had acknowledged. The air in the room was warm, but it felt artificial, like the heat from a vent. My father, Mark, gave me a distracted nod, already turning back to laugh at something Uncle Dennis said. My sister, Jenna, was glowing, her hand linked with her new fiancé, Kyle. They were the center of the room, the gravity everyone was pulled toward. I tried to blend in. I walked over to my mother, Sharon, who was directing traffic by the stove. "Mom," I said, holding up the bottle. "I heard there was good business news. I brought this to celebrate." She glanced at it, her eyes barely registering the expensive label. "Oh, that's nice. Patricia, just put it on the counter over there." I set it down next to a bowl of cranberry sauce. A few minutes later, Kyle bustled in from the porch, holding a cheap bottle of sparkling wine, the kind you get at a gas station. "I brought something to toast with," he announced. Immediately, Sharon clapped her hands. "Wonderful, Mark. Get the glasses." My bottle sat untouched. My mother raised her glass, her voice full of a warmth I hadn't heard directed at me all day. "I want to make a very special toast," she said, beaming at Jenna and Kyle. "To the newest partner in our family business, Kyle." Everyone cheered. My glass stayed at my side. Partner I was the one writing grant applications and proposals for nonprofits. I knew what a partnership agreement looked like. I also knew what our family's business books looked like. They looked like my personal bank account. Jenna leaned in and kissed Kyle's cheek. "And we also have to thank him," she gushed, "for finally getting that broken old pier fixed. He supervised the whole thing." Kyle gave a modest, corporate little shrug. "Happy to help, Sharon. It's solid now." My mother looked at him like he'd just built the place by hand. "We just appreciate it so much. It's so good to finally have a man around who knows how to get things done." A cold, sharp clarity hit me. I had just paid the final invoice for that pier repair 9 days ago. The contractor sent the receipt to my email. I stared at Kyle, this business consultant, who probably couldn't tell a hammer from a wrench, soaking in the credit for the check I wrote. And that's when I understood. It's what they call the competence trap. It started when I was young. Jenna was the visionary, the creative spirit. I was the practical one. It sounded like a compliment back then. When Jenna had a brilliant but completely unprofitable idea, I was the one who had to figure out the budget. When I got my first real job writing grants, Mom called me, crying about a supplier bill for their little boutique shop. "You're just so good with numbers, Patricia," she'd said. So I paid it. Then it was the utility bill for the shop. Then the insurance for the lake house. Then the monthly business support check. $1,000. Automatic. That kept their dream afloat, while I built grant proposals for charities that saved other people. I thought being the practical one meant I was strong. I thought it meant I was the reliable foundation of the family. But sitting there, watching them toast Kyle for spending my money, I realized practical was just their word for useful. In a family like mine, competence isn't a gift. It's a punishment. They don't see your sacrifice as love. They see it as your utility. Your function. The moment you become good at fixing things, you become responsible for everything that's broken. My value wasn't in being there. It was in paying for them to be there. I wasn't family. I was infrastructure. I didn't say goodbye. No one was looking at me anyway. I slipped out the side door, my expensive wine still sitting on the counter inside. The cold autumn air hit my face, and it felt more honest than the heat in that house. I drove home in silence. The radio was off. It wasn't sadness I felt. It was heavier than that. Like a great weight, settling. I wasn't their daughter or their sister. I was their quiet investor. The one they never had to pay back. I wasn't family. I was a line of credit. When I got back to my apartment, the quiet felt different. It was solid. It was mine. There was no forced laughter. No one to perform for. I didn't cry. I made coffee, even though it was late, and sat at my desk. I opened my laptop. The screen lit up the dark room with a cold blue glow. My budgeting app was already open. Family business support. It stared back at me. $1,000 a month. For years. My hand moved to the mouse. Click. The automatic transfer for $1,000. Paused. I went to the utility company website. The lake house. The business address. Log out of all other devices. Change password. Remove my payment method. Click. The software subscriptions for their boutique. The premium shipping account. The company fuel cards. Cancel. Cancel. Click. Each sound was small. Sharp. Like a lock clicking into place. I wasn't burning a bridge. I was just finally bolting my own door. I didn't leave a note. I didn't send a text. I just went to bed. The next morning, my phone was a war zone. A stack of missed calls and texts. Each one more frantic than the last. I ignored them. I was drinking my coffee. Watching the morning news. When the knocking started. Not a polite knock. It was a sharp, impatient pounding that demanded to be answered. I opened the door. It was Sharon and Jenna. They weren't wearing coats. Their faces flushed with rage. Not concern. What did you do? Sharon asked. No, hello. No. Are you okay? Just accusation. Good morning to you. Too. I said, leaning against the doorframe. Her voice was tight. Furious. The payment to the main supplier was declined. Declined. Patricia. Jenna pushed past her. Her face blotchy and red. And the company fuel card isn't working. My tank is on empty. Are you trying to sabotage me? Are you jealous? Is that it? Jealous? I asked. My voice dangerously quiet. No. Jenna. I'm just done paying for things that aren't mine. You weren't uninvited. Sharon snapped. Her eyes narrowing. We were just celebrating Kyle. You're just making a scene because you weren't the center of attention for once. I wasn't even in the picture. Mom. Then she said the line. The one that made everything inside me go perfectly. Terrifyingly still. You don't have a husband. Patricia. You don't have kids. You have a good job. It is your responsibility to support this family, while Jenna is trying to build her future. Responsibility. Not a gift. Not help. Not love. A responsibility. Jenna just nodded, folding her arms, looking at me like I was a faulty appliance. For years, I thought I was the strong one, but they didn't see strength. They saw a resource. I'm done, I said. It sounded so simple. Sharon blinked, thrown by the lack of screaming. Don't you dare be selfish. Patricia, you're choosing a fight over your own family. No, I said, and I felt the last bit of fog clear from my head. I'm choosing a boundary. If you hear that as a fight, that's on you. You will regret this, Sharon hissed, pointing a finger at me. One day, you'll be alone, and you'll need us. If that day comes, I said, stepping back and closing the door slowly, I hope you answer the phone. I shut the door, leaving them in the hallway, and finally, locked the deadbolt. The silence that followed was the best sound I'd heard all week. The quiet was addictive. My phone, once a constant stream of demands disguised as family chatter, was still. I muted the group chat. I turned off notifications. The rage from my mother and sister faded into a dull, digital hum that I simply chose not to listen to. I started sleeping through the night for the first time in years. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. It was only the end of the first act. A few days later, an email popped up from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line was just one word: "Read this." I almost deleted it, thinking it was spam. But something made me open it. The sender was Kyle, Jenna's fiancé, the new partner. The email was short. "Patricia, I can't be a part of this." I didn't know how deep it went. "I'm sorry." Attached was a forwarded email chain. A chain between my sister, Jenna, and my mother, Sharon. It was dated 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. My blood went cold. I clicked it open. Jenna's email: "Kyle is getting a little soft about the finances. He keeps asking if Patricia is okay with the new loan structure. He doesn't get it." My mother's reply: "Don't you worry about Kyle. He'll get used to it. He just needs to understand how this family works. The important thing is to manage Patricia. Just keep her paying the basic overhead, the lake house, the suppliers. As long as she's handling the small stuff, she won't look too closely at the new business filings. We can use her collateral for the larger expansion loan after the holiday. She won't even notice. Manage Patricia. Use her collateral. She won't even notice." I read it again and again. The words blurred on the screen. This wasn't carelessness. This wasn't them forgetting me in a photo or getting carried away. This was a plan. A deliberate, calculated strategy to keep me distracted with small bills while they leveraged my good credit, my entire life's work, for their own gain. The feeling in my chest wasn't just hurt anymore. It was something clean and sharp. It was the sound of the last sentimental thread snapping. The silence from them lasted exactly 1 week. Then, a frantic call from my father. Mark. The first time he'd called me directly in months. "Patricia, thank God." A pipe burst at the lake house. "It's a disaster. The whole ground floor is flooded." His voice was high. Panicked. "Your mother is... she's a wreck." "Is everyone okay?" I asked. My voice flat. Yes. Yes. Everyone's fine. But the damage... Patricia, we need help. The insurance. It won't cover it all immediately. We just need to stop the damage. We need help. Not "I love you." Not "I miss you." Just the ask. Always the ask. I knew what was coming. An hour later, they were at my door. Sharon and Jenna. This time, the rage was gone. It was replaced by a performance of desperation. Their eyes were wide. Their faces pale. "Patricia, you have to help us," Sharon said, her voice trembling. "It's the lake house. Everything is ruined. We just need a little help. Just to get through this. Just until the insurance clears. You know how slow they are." She held her hand out slightly. Palm up. The gesture of a beggar. I looked at her. I looked at Jenna, who was trying to produce tears. I thought about the email. Manage Patricia. I thought about the family photo. "1 second," I said. I walked away from the door. Into my office. I heard my mother whisper to Jenna. "See, she just needed to cool off. She'll come through." I opened my wallet. I took out a single, crisp $100 bill. I walked back to the door and placed it flat in my mother's open hand. She stared at it. Her face went through 3 stages in 2 seconds. Hope, confusion, and then a dark, rising fury. "What is this?" she whispered. "Is this a joke?" "No," I said, my voice perfectly calm, the calmest I'd ever felt. "What is this supposed to be?" she demanded, her voice rising. I looked her straight in the eye. "That," I said, "is what I was worth in the family photo." The silence that followed was so thick, you could have drowned in it. Jenna actually took a step back. That's not fair. Jenna finally whispered. Her fake tears gone. Neither was Thanksgiving. I said. Neither was the pier. Neither was the email you sent your mother 2 weeks before. Jenna's face went white. My mother's head snapped toward her. I'd hit the mark. You are being spiteful. Patricia. My mother hissed, trying to regain control. She crumpled the bill in her fist. No. Mom. I said. I'm being consistent. You wanted a partner. You have Kyle. This is just a donation. 3. Min ago. The royal family shared heartbreaking news about Prince Andrew.